The morning of my wedding, I woke up to a text from my future mother-in-law. "We've taken your dress. The venue is canceled, and your fiancé knows what's best." My hands shook as I dialed his number, but when I showed up at the ceremony, they were the ones who got a nasty surprise. I should have known something was off. The signs were there. My future mother-in-law, Martha, never liked me. She acted nice when my fiancé, David, was around, but when we were alone, she made sure I knew she didn't think I was good enough for her son. She questioned my wedding choices constantly. She hated my dress. She wanted a different venue. She tried pushing her own ideas, and when I didn't agree, she pouted like a child. I thought she was just an overbearing mother, but now I know better. I thought David was different. I thought he had my back. But I was about to find out just how wrong I was. I woke up feeling excited, nervous, and ready. It was my wedding day. The day I had planned for months. The day I had spent thousands of dollars on. The day I was supposed to walk down the aisle and start my future with the man I loved. Then my phone buzzed. "Martha, we've taken your dress. The venue is canceled. And your fiancé knows what's best. Don't make a scene. Just accept it." At first, I thought I was still dreaming. My head felt light, my stomach twisted, and I had to read the message at least 3 times before it sank in. I sat up so fast I nearly fell out of bed. My heart was pounding. I immediately called David. Straight to voicemail. I called my maid of honor, Sarah. No answer. I called the venue. The woman on the phone hesitated before telling me, "Oh, yes, David called early this morning and canceled everything." "I'm so sorry." My hands were shaking. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. I ran to my closet. My dress was gone. The shoes I picked out were gone. Even the veil missing. Panic turned into something worse. Something sharp. Something dangerous. They had planned this. They had waited until the last possible moment to pull the rug out from under me, thinking I'd be too devastated to fight back. They were wrong. I threw on the first clothes I could find and grabbed my keys. If my dress was gone, someone had to have taken it. My first thought was to drive to David's house, but something told me not to waste my time. Instead, I drove straight to Martha's. The moment she opened the door, I saw it in her eyes. Smug satisfaction. She didn't even pretend to be surprised to see me. She just sighed and leaned against the doorway like I was an inconvenience. "You need to calm down," she said. Calm down. Calm down. I was standing there in sweatpants on the morning of my wedding, and this woman, this witch, was telling me to calm down? "Where's my dress?" I demanded. Martha didn't even blink. "It's gone. And you won't need it anyway. The wedding is off." I felt my pulse in my ears. "You don't have the power to cancel my wedding." That smug smirk. I wanted to slap it off her face. David made the call. He's doing what's best. I took a deep breath. Where is he? Busy. I don't know how I didn't scream. I don't know how I didn't break something. But I knew one thing, I wasn't going to get anything from her. So I left. But I wasn't done. Not even close. If Martha had pulled something like this, there was no way she had just canceled the wedding. She had done something worse. I had a horrible feeling in my gut and I needed answers. So I drove to the venue. And that's when I saw it. Cars were pulling into the parking lot. Guests were arriving. The venue was decorated exactly as I had planned. Because the wedding wasn't canceled. It just wasn't my wedding anymore. I got out of my car and walked toward the entrance. Nobody stopped me. People I knew, people who had been invited to my wedding, smiled at me as I passed, completely unaware. I made it to the doors and stepped inside. And there she was. Rachel. In a wedding dress. My wedding dress. My vision blurred with rage. My whole body went cold. Rachel had been my friend. She had always been close with David. I had ignored the little comments, the playful touches, the way she looked at him when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I had been so stupid, and now she was standing at the altar. With my fiancé. In my dress. At my wedding. Like I never even existed. The betrayal was suffocating. It choked me, crushed my chest, made me feel like I was sinking into the floor. David stood there, looking calm. Relaxed. Like this wasn't the most disgusting, humiliating, psychotic thing he had ever done. And that's when it all clicked. This wasn't last minute. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned. David had let me spend months planning this wedding. He let me send out invites. He let me spend thousands of dollars. He let me think I was about to marry the love of my life while, in reality, he was planning to marry someone else. He was going to let me wake up, realize my wedding was canceled, and disappear from his life like I was some random girl he had once dated. They were going to erase me. And they thought I would just accept it. They thought I would just go away. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I stood there, frozen. People were laughing, chatting, taking their seats, completely unaware that this wasn't just a normal wedding, it was a hijacking. Martha was at the front, smiling proudly, probably thinking she had pulled off the perfect crime. Rachel adjusted my veil, glowing like a fake-ass angel. And David? David wasn't nervous. He wasn't guilty. He wasn't looking around for me, wondering where I was. Because he knew. Because he was in on it. Something inside me cracked. I should have cried. I should have broken down. But instead, a strange, calm feeling settled over me. They had taken everything from me. My dress, my venue, my fiancé, my wedding. But I wasn't gone yet. I straightened my shoulders and kept walking. A few people glanced at me, some with confusion, some with recognition. Whispers started. But nobody stopped me. Until I reached the front row. Martha's eyes locked onto mine, and I saw it. For the first time, fear. She stood up quickly, stepping in front of me like she could physically block me from ruining her fantasy. "You need to leave," she hissed, her voice low. I smiled. Actually smiled. "I think I'll stay." The whispers were growing louder. Guests were nudging each other. I saw my cousin, Rebecca, staring at me, eyes wide. I looked toward Sarah, my maid of honor, my best friend, and that's when I noticed something. She looked guilty. Like she knew. My stomach twisted. I had been betrayed by my fiancé. By my fake friend, Rachel. By his psycho mother. But Sarah too? That hurt the most. She opened her mouth to say something, but I wasn't in the mood to hear excuses. I turned back to Martha, who was still trying to act like she had control. "You weren't invited," she said, forcing a smile. I laughed. Loud. "Really? Because last I checked, this was my wedding." David turned then. His face was blank, but there was something in his eyes. A flicker of panic. Rachel, standing beside him, went pale. People were definitely watching now. David stepped forward, his voice calm, practiced. "Let's not do this here." I tilted my head. "Oh, but you wanted to do this here, didn't you?" I gestured around the venue. "Since you planned this whole thing behind my back." Rachel tried to grab David's arm, like she could somehow fix this. "Look, we didn't," she started. I cut her off. "You didn't what, Rachel? Didn't steal my fiancé? Didn't wear my dress? Didn't let me plan my own wedding while you stood in the background, waiting to take my place?" Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. I turned back to David. "How long?" I asked. He didn't answer. "How long have you been planning this?" Still nothing. Rachel fidgeted. "It just happened." I let out a sharp laugh. "It just happened?" "Oh, so you just tripped and fell into my wedding dress? Into my fiancé's bed?" Martha sighed dramatically. "Stop making a scene." I snapped my head toward her. "You planned this, didn't you?" She didn't deny it. I nodded, a cold, detached feeling spreading through me. "You know what, Martha? I was so ready to be the bigger person. To marry your son and tolerate you for the rest of my life." I took a step closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "But now? I'm going to destroy you." She flinched. "Good." David finally spoke, his voice too calm. "It's over, okay? Let's just move on." Move on. Move on. I felt something inside me snap. "All right," I said, pulling out my phone. "Then let's tell everyone exactly what's going on." I hit play. Martha's voice blasted through the speakers. "We've taken your dress. The venue is cancelled. And your fiancé knows what's best." Gasps. Then, David's voice. "Babe, I'm sorry, but my mom is right. You're just not good enough. Rachel is better suited for me. She'll be a proper wife." Complete. Silence. It was so quiet, I could hear someone drop their champagne glass. Rachel took a step away from David, horrified. Martha's face drained of color. And David? David looked like he was going to throw up. I took a deep breath, letting the moment sink in. Then I leaned in, looking Rachel dead in the eye. "Still want him?" She bolted. Martha turned to David. "You told her that?" David was still frozen, like his brain couldn't process how badly this was going for him. I pulled out another piece of paper. "You know what else I have?" I said, unfolding it slowly. "The bill for the wedding." Martha's head snapped toward me. "What?" "See, David and I signed financial agreements before the wedding. Which means he owes me. For everything." Her mouth fell open. $35,000, I said, reading the number off the paper. "Due immediately." David's face was pure horror. "That's not," I shrugged. "It's in writing. Signed. Legal." Then I smiled. "And if you don't pay?" I leaned in. "Well, you know I love a good public scandal." Martha looked ready to faint. David stammered, You can't." "Oh, I can." I turned to the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show. Because it's not over yet." David looked like a cornered rat. Martha's mouth was opening and closing, but no words were coming out. The guests? Stunned. Some people had their phones out, recording everything. Rachel had disappeared, good. But Sarah, My so-called best friend was still standing there, frozen in guilt. I wasn't done. David had taken everything from me. His mother had made sure of it. They had wanted me to be too embarrassed, too broken to fight back. But they had underestimated me. And now? I was going to ruin them. Just as Martha was about to open her mouth, probably to screech some excuse, the doors swung open. A man in a sharp suit walked in, briefcase in hand. "Apologies for the interruption," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. David's face went ghost white. Because this was my lawyer. "Miss, my name," he nodded at me. "Everything is in order." I smiled. Perfect timing. Martha actually grabbed David's arm, like she could hold him up before he collapsed. "You got a lawyer?" she spat. I turned to her. "Of course I did. You and your son stole my wedding, my money, and my time. You think I wasn't going to get some legal backup?" Gasps from the guests. Some people were whispering loudly now. David finally found his voice. "This is ridiculous. My lawyer didn't even look at him. According to the financial agreement signed prior to this event, you, David, are legally bound to cover all wedding expenses." David choked on air. $35,000, my lawyer continued. "Non-negotiable." Martha lost it. "This is a scam," she shrieked. The lawyer didn't blink. "No, ma'am. It's legally binding. You planned this wedding, then swapped out the bride last minute. That means your son now owns the bill." The color drained from David's face. "You have until the end of the day," my lawyer added, "before legal action is taken." A waiter coughed to hide a laugh. Someone in the crowd muttered, "Holy sh**T. And then, another voice spoke up. "Wait, Sarah." Her voice shaky. I turned. I wasn't sure I even wanted to hear what she had to say, but she looked broken. She took a deep breath. I knew. More gasps. David's head whipped toward her. "Sarah, shut up." She shook her head wildly. "No, I can't keep lying." Tears welled in her eyes. "Martha told me weeks ago. She told me they were planning to replace you. She said you weren't the right kind of wife for David." I felt sick. My best friend had known? Sarah wiped her eyes. "I wanted to tell you. I really did. But Martha, she threatened me. She said if I warned you, she'd ruin me. She'd make sure I lost my job." I blinked. "Your job." More murmurs from the guests. Sarah looked down, ashamed. "Martha owns the firm I work at," she said. "She said she'd fire me if I told you." Martha crossed her arms. "And I would have." The crowd booed. Someone yelled, "Are you serious?" Sarah looked at me desperate. "I'm sorry. I should have told you." I was weak and I held up a hand. I couldn't process this right now. I turned back to David and Martha. "You really threatened my best friend's job just to get rid of me?" Martha rolled her eyes. "It's called handling problems." I let out a breath. Unbelievable. But Sarah wasn't done. She turned to David, hands shaking. "Tell her the rest." David froze. Martha whirled on her. "Sarah, don't you dare." Sarah's voice rose. "Tell her the rest, David." Silence. Dead. Silence. I watched David's face crumble. I knew then it was even worse than I thought. I stepped forward. "David." He wouldn't look at me. "Tell me." David swallowed hard. His hands clenched. His jaw locked. Then he finally muttered, "Rachel's pregnant." The room exploded. I staggered back. Pregnant. Pregnant. I heard people gasping, whispering, muttering curses. Rachel had been my friend. She had stolen my fiancé, wore my dress, tried to take my wedding, and now she was having his baby? And I was supposed to just disappear? David had the nerve to look sorry. Like an apology would fix this. I looked at Martha. "So that's what this was about. That's why you wanted me gone." She shrugged, like it was obvious. "Rachel is giving my son an heir." An heir. Like we were in some medieval royal family. I laughed. Actually laughed. David winced. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." I held up a hand. "Don't. Just don't." I turned to the guests. "Everyone, let's give a big round of applause to David and Rachel, who are expecting a child after stabbing me in the back." Someone actually clapped. A woman in the back muttered, "I need more popcorn." David looked miserable. Martha was seething. I was done. I turned to my lawyer. "Are we good?" He nodded. "I'll handle the rest." "Perfect." I smoothed down my suit. Then I walked out. Because I had one more move to make. And this? This was just the beginning. I should have left. I wanted to leave. But something inside me told me I wasn't finished yet. Because after everything, after the stolen wedding, the lies, the betrayal, there was still something missing. And I needed to know exactly what it was. I turned back to David, who was rubbing his temples like all of this was just giving him a headache. Like I was just some problem to deal with. Martha was muttering under her breath, shooting Sarah a death glare, probably wishing she could set her on fire with her mind. The guests were eating this up. Some had their hands over their mouths in shock. Others had their phones out, recording. And then Rachel walked back in. She looked furious. Not guilty. Not embarrassed. Furious. You just had to ruin everything, she snapped at me, marching straight down the aisle in my dress like she still belonged there. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I'm sorry, did I ruin your big day? She crossed her arms, breathing hard. You weren't supposed to find out like this, she hissed. I stared at her, stunned for a moment. Then I laughed. Actually laughed. You're unbelievable, I said. What part of this did you think I wouldn't find out? The part where you stole my fiancé? The part where you wore my dress? Or the part where you're pregnant with his baby? She flinched at that, and I knew then, that wasn't supposed to come out. David groaned. Rachel, stop talking. I pounced. What else is there, Rachel? I pressed. You might as well spill it all now. She looked away. Martha suddenly stepped forward, panicking. Rachel, don't you dare, too late. Rachel snapped. You think I'm the bad guy? She spat. Do you have any idea what I was promised? The whole room went silent. David's head jerked up. Rachel, shut up. But she was done keeping secrets. They told me I'd have a perfect life, she said, eyes burning. That David would marry me. That we'd be this perfect couple. That I'd be the new face of their family. I felt my stomach turn. Martha had planned this way before today. She had handpicked Rachel like a replacement doll. And David? David had gone along with it. Rachel's voice wobbled. But now I see the truth. I was never going to be the wife. I was just a way to get rid of you. And once the baby is here. She turned on Martha, eyes narrowing. You were going to push me out too, weren't you? Martha's face tightened. Don't be ridiculous. Rachel took a step closer, shaking her head. Oh my God. You were, weren't you? That's why you kept saying the baby was the only thing that mattered. David stiffened. Rachel, let's talk about this later, but she was spiraling now. You lied to me, she whispered, staring at him. You said you loved me. Martha scoffed. Love doesn't matter, Rachel. A strong family matters. That was it. Rachel lost it. She yanked off the veil, threw it at Martha's feet, and let out a sharp, bitter laugh. I was just another pawn, she said, voice cracking. Just like her. She pointed at me. And suddenly, it hit me. Rachel wasn't my replacement. Rachel and I had been the same. She had fallen for it too. The only difference? I got out before it was too late. Rachel wiped her eyes, turned without another word, and walked out. David called after her, panicked now. Rachel, wait. She didn't. And then? Martha snapped. This is your fault, she screamed at me, actually pointing. I blinked. My fault? She jabbed a finger at my chest. If you had just left quietly, none of this would have happened. I let out a sharp breath. You really don't get it, do you? I said, shaking my head. David didn't love me. And guess what? He doesn't love Rachel either. You've controlled his entire life, and now you've ruined it. David's jaw clenched. Martha turned on him. Say something, she demanded. David just stood there, silent, pathetic. A man who had finally realized he had lost everything. I could have destroyed him more. I could have made one final, brutal remark that would have buried him. But he wasn't worth it. None of them were. So I stepped back. I turned to my lawyer. Let's go. He nodded, adjusting his tie. We'll send the final paperwork later. I walked down the aisle, the one I was supposed to walk down in a white dress. Past the stunned guests. Past the whispers. Past Martha, shaking with rage. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. David tried to contact me. Of course he did. The messages were pathetic. Can we talk? I made a mistake. I just need a chance to explain. I never answered. Rachel disappeared. She moved out of state. No one really knows where she went. Martha? Well, she lost everything. David never recovered from the public humiliation. The wedding scandal spread fast. His business deals fell through. People stopped trusting him. And when Martha's reputation started going downhill, she turned on David. I heard she moved away to start fresh. Without him. Karma did all the work for me. And me? I thrived. I moved to a new city. Found a real job. Made real friends. And I stopped looking back. Because the truth is, I won. Not because I got revenge. Not because I embarrassed them. But because I walked away. Because I found a life that was so much better than the one they tried to trap me in. And because now, when I look back at that day, at that text, that betrayal, that entire disaster, I don't feel anything at all. And that's the best revenge of all.